Good morning. Brother Anthony here at the Broad Street Church of Christ saying Grand Risings, my brothers and my sisters. When I was growing up, there was a song, and it went something like this. It says, I may never march in the infantry, ride in the cavalry, shoot the artillery, but I'm in the Lord's army. Yes, sir. And then it went on to say, I may never zoom over the enemy, but I'm in the Lord's army. Yes, sir. Just think about those lyrics for a minute. Now, to be in the Lord's army implies that you have a relationship with the Lord. Everybody just can't be in the Lord's army. To be in the Lord's army, it comes by faith and obedience to the gospel plan of salvation. This is necessary for us to be able to march in the Lord's infantry or even ride in the Lord's cavalry. Just think about that. But also being in the Lord's army means there is some rank. Remember, when you're in the Lord's army, there's always somebody that's higher than you. You know what that means? That means that once you enlist to the Lord's army, you're not a soldier that can go off and do what you want to do when you want to do it. You got to abide by the Lord's rules. You got to abide by the Lord's commands. You got to do things the Lord's way. You see, in order to march in the infantry, ride in the cavalry, or shoot the artillery, you got to be willing to obey the SOP. Just think about being in the Lord's army. It implies rules. To refuse to follow the Lord's rules while you're in his military system or while you're into his army, it implies that if you do not follow the rules, treason is involved. You say, when you're in the Lord's army, we have the obligation of obeying his orders even unto death. Notice the roll call of Christ has not changed. He says, if you're willing to come after me, you must deny yourself, pick up your cross, and follow after me. Isn't that something? We got to deny what we want to do. Paul said like this. He says, once I enlisted, I had to beat my body unto subjection. It's some things that had mastery over me that I had to come back and take control of. Because I knew that if I was going to be in the Lord's army and those things had mastery over me, there's no way that I'm going to make it to heaven doing those things that I was doing. Being in the Lord's army implies a faithful man. A faithful man has to be patient. He has to be willing to endure hardships. And he can't be a quitter. The good soldier, the faithful soldier, realizes that there will be troubles along the way. But he will not allow himself to fall off course. He will not let them troubles make him go AWOL. He will not allow those troubles to, make him become treasonous. In other words, when troubles come his way, he understands that with the aid of his commander-in-chief, the Lord, that he can face his troubles head on. Also, you got to understand that once you're in the Lord's army and trouble comes your way, that the Lord have a legion of angels that he can unleash at his beck and call to come rescue his soldier out of danger. Isn't that wonderful? Isn't that magnificent? To understand that the Lord, the commander-in-chief, at the sound of his voice, he can send an angelic platoon ready to rescue that one soldier that's suffering defeat. You know, he understands, a faithful soldier does, that pain is part of the Christian experience. You know, when I was growing up, my daddy used to play this song on the radio called No Pain, No Pain, No Gain, No Gain. And you know, as corny as that song sounded to me growing up, that song has realism in it. To be a Christian in the Lord's army, your pain causes you your gain. Okay? It's that pain, that hardship, that trouble, that circumstance that you go through that helps you grow. I didn't understand that. You know, as a Christian, I won't always pray my sorrows away. I want to always pray my pain away. But sometimes we need to sit back and thank the Lord for our sorrows and our pains. You know, being a Christian soldier, you got to be able to prioritize. You got to put your priorities in the right perspective. So before I march and do anything, I'm going to seek the guidance of my commander in chief. You know, I got to make sure that the pathway I'm finna travel, the way I'm finna go, that my commander in chief will be satisfied with it. You see, the faithful Christian soldier knows that anything which interferes with his performance has to be done away with. We gotta move those obstacles out of our way. Those things that are gonna cause us not to fulfill our duty. This is Brother Anthony of the Broad Street Church of Christ, just reminding us, you may never march in the infantry, ride in the cavalry, shoot the artillery. You may never even fly over the enemy. But one thing rest assured, you're in the Lord's army.